Welcome to Empowered Women. In Empowered Women series, we talk to inspiring women so that we can share it with aspiring women leaders. And well, all this is so that we can bring all these wonderful experiences to women. And our motive is that we want to put women in position of power so that there is a real gender equality at workplace.
Mhm.
And today we have with us Anu Chitrapu. And Anu's main job that pays her bills is she is Senior VP at Bank of America. But that's not what we are going to talk to her about. We are going to talk about her passion of changing the world. And do you want to say anything about that, Anu?
Oh, changing the world sounds a little bit lofty. I'm not sure I'm there yet. But yeah, definitely would try. Um, and you described it well, Purnima. I mean, I do love my work, and it's a different kind of challenge there. But I also am passionate about the various causes that I'm involved with. And, I don't look at the two of them as separate because there's a lot of best practices in corporate America that I think we should and can bring to the nonprofit world to make them more impactful, more efficient, etc. So I do see as one influencing the other.
Yeah. And I like that, because, I can say this about you and refer to the conversations that I have had, some time back or during the time of knowing you, which is like, like it is nonprofits. Fine, businesses' responsibility is, or, what they try to do is make more money. That's why they need to have a strategic approach or
Mhm.
very planned approach. And nonprofits' responsibility is to use whatever money they have. They need to use it more efficiently. They need to be able to have that every dollar go as further as they can take, and that also needs strategy and planning. And
Definitely.
you can only bring it from the world that has it to the world that needs it.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
So obviously my question is, I understand your logic of how both worlds feed into each other and empower you as one person, but but there are a lot of women who want to do it. Not everyone has time for it.
Mhm.
So how do you make that time?
Ah, so I'll say this, Purnima. I think everything is about time management. When someone tells me, "Oh, I'm like so busy, I don't have," I really question because uh, even CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, they do have time for their passion. So I do think it's a matter of where your priorities are, and how much passion you have for something that you want to do. And if you are truly passionate, I do believe you can make the time. And the time is not, it's not like you set aside time separately from there. Every now and then, sometimes I'm on a plane going from Boston somewhere and I'm sitting on the plane. There's not much you can do on the plane. Yeah, I do see people working sometimes, but that's the time when I take out my laptop or even just on my iPhone and I'm typing up some notes for something that I'm working with, some cause related stuff, or I have some idea and I say, oh, let me just quickly type it up so I don't forget. So you can steal moments here and there, at least to put your thoughts down, and then in the weekend spend time and just hash out the full plan. So yeah, I'm not one to say I'm so busy that I really don't have time, or maybe I'm not that busy.
That's actually, that's, if you're, it's like other way of saying that I know how to manage my time well. That's why I'm not busy.
Yeah, maybe. But and it's also priority, right? Like, what's your priority? Is your priority to watch a Netflix movie, or is your priority to meet with friends, or is your priority cooking a favorite dish? It's different from different people, and I'm not saying neither is right or wrong. I think it's what you like and what you choose to do
And everybody needs to decide their
for
priorities.
themselves. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. I am very thankful that, for the world, I'm thankful that your priority is your nonprofit world. And I don't think I mentioned it, but Anu is involved almost in every nonprofit in Greater Boston area. Like we can do that game. We can do that game one time, Anu, that, I can list out the nonprofits in Greater Boston area. And if you have never ever done anything for one of them, then we can say that. How did that happen?
Okay, I think there's a little bit of exaggeration here, but it's something that, I think I started like maybe 20, 25 years back, even when my kids were very young. I always felt that I needed something other than just work and kids, to get myself involved with and feel like, I think that I can help out in some way. And, there are many nonprofits in Boston that are great nonprofits. And of course, many of them targeting causes in India, which are very close to my heart. And they are run by, fantastic group of people who are very successful in the for-profit world also, and they're bringing the best practices. So there's a lot to learn from them, not just from the nonprofit world, but even just when you work with them on a cause, right? There is opportunity to learn a lot from them. So that's how I started getting involved. And then, one thing led to another, and every cause that I heard about, I was like, oh, wow, that can be really impactful. So yeah, a little bit of getting excited with everything. I know people have said that about me, but every nonprofit idea I hear about, I'm like, wow, that is really impactful. Why didn't I think about it? So that's how I got involved with everything.
Which is kind of true, which is, I really admire people who can, pick up one cause and dedicate their entire life to a cause.
Mm.
And I am also kind of a person where, I feel like there's so many things which are important. It's not one thing or the other.
Right.
There are so many things which need to be done.
Yeah.
And if it's not your primary profession, then it's easier to do wherever you can make an impact, wherever you can bring about that change. So
Yeah.
I'm always curious about, like, when was the first time that you told me that, you started because you wanted to do something bigger than yourself. Do you remember your first experience, or how did it start?
Yeah, my first experience, actually, I have to give complete credit to my mom. So I'm the youngest of four siblings, and my earliest memories of working with some organization are after my older three siblings would be sent off to school, and I was not yet in school. My mother would take me with her to Cheshire Home, which was an orphanage, and this was in Burnpur in West Bengal. So I would go with her, and she would teach the kids there, and I would just play with, like, whichever kid was willing to play with me. So I formed like a group of friends with all the special children there, and I never thought of it as like anything different or a cause. I thought this is what everyone did. Um, and that's my earliest memory. So, and my mom, with four kids and all, life was busy. I mean, there were a lot of things, but she always made time for this and a lot of other causes. So I think that is how I got involved. So when I grew up and I came here, it was just natural that the first thing I do is, okay, what organization can I attach myself to? What can I do? So, and my mom would ask me, so what are you doing? What else other than work? What else are you doing? So, so I think that's how I started.
So it feels like a family culture. It feels like that's how I was brought up, and that's how you live a life.
Definitely. Yeah.
Isn't that a beautiful thing? I think, it should be part of all children's growing up process, that what you
Yeah.
do for the community, what you do for the society is as important as what you do for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you grow up with that, right, you don't actually question it as, or you don't even think like, hey, I'm doing something special or something, right? It's something that I think it's every person's responsibility, and you just do it for that reason.
Yeah. Now I want to know, like, this is a question for your best experience, that this is when I thought that this is why I do it. Like, that satisfaction that you get it every now and then, but there are
Yeah.
few incidences that stick with you.
Yeah, there are many, and I'll give you like maybe my top three. So very recently, I visited India through AIF, American India Foundation, and we went and visited this little settlement in Dang Forest in Gujarat, and we met with migrant families, actually the children of migrant families, and there was this little girl there, and she said she was like maybe, I don't know, 6 7 years old, and we asked her where her parents were, and she said, I don't know, they are not here, they are cutting sugarcane somewhere. And then we said, oh, so when are they coming back? And she said, I don't know, I don't know when they'll come back. When were they last here? She said, maybe a year back. I mean, it was just a few months, but she didn't have that concept of and AIF is doing some really good work with these migrant families. There are these after school programs where they teach the kids and bring the kids up to par with their peers. Because typically these migrant families, they either take their children with them wherever they are going, and as a result, the children don't have proper education, or they leave the kids behind in the village and go away. And, little kids are looking after other little kids, like a 10-year-old sibling may be looking after like 6 and 7-year-old sibling. And so you can imagine, school is not going to be that important part of their everyday living. So I met we saw a lot of kids, but this particular kid, just because I spoke with her and I took pictures with her and all that, just stuck in my mind. And then we came back here. And as soon as we came back here, the COVID thing, hit really badly, and things got shut down here. We are all in their homes, in our homes. And then we realized that the parents of these kids are still in the cities where they're working. And, they probably don't even have a way to reach the villages. And I just couldn't help but think about, like, I wonder what's happening to this girl and the other kids we met and their parents. And then we read the article in New York Times, and there was a lot of focus on the migrant families. And it suddenly felt like so real, the need that those migrant families had. And then AIF started working quickly, pivoting the model and saying, okay, we can't do the schools right now because they can't go there, but let's use the money we have, make sure that all these families have food and shelter, little books that they dropped off in their houses, etc. And that was the moment, right, that I felt, I'm so glad I went on that trip with AIF, and I actually met these migrant families. And I'm so glad I'm part of AIF, because here is something that we are doing which can actually change people's lives. So that was the moment, one of the moments, I would say, where I really felt very, I don't know, I can't explain that feeling, the feeling that you get, not that, oh, I contributed to this or something, but that I was right there and I know what these people are going through. So that was one big moment for me. The other is my sisters and I, we have a social enterprise. It's called Nirvana. And it all started because my mother, she was totally into recycling. So she kept telling us, you shouldn't waste fabric. Even if you can't wear it anymore, I'm sure you can make stuff with it. And she started making little products. So we have a group of women in Chennai who make products, and then we sell them, and then so we pay them for making the products, we save fabric, and then whatever profits we get from the sales, we put it back into women empowerment. So we pay fees for their children, particularly if they're girl children. We buy sewing machines for them, stuff like that. And they come to the center where there are sewing machines, and a lot of them don't even own their own. They do their work and they go. Last year when I went to India, one of the women who works there, she said to me, she said, this has really changed my life, because now my husband is actually looking at me with respect. And that to me was like, what, even if we could do it just for one woman, that's fine. And it's so important, right? Economic independence. Unless you have that, in India, I'm not saying everywhere this is the same and all families are not the same, but typically this is a problem. It's like if you don't have economic independence, you don't get the equality or the respect that you.
Yeah. It's not just that woman that you talked about in Nirvana, that financial independence changed the way she was perceived. She started looking at herself differently.
Yeah, it gives you confidence when you, yeah.
So it's not just a woman who's making bags in a nonprofit. It's women at all levels,
right,
everywhere. And just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. There is a confidence that comes with economic independence and equality and all of that. And I really don't. I know sometimes people say, "Oh, you need to be a working woman for you to be happy, or for your husband or your home." I don't believe that at all. I think that is not the definition in my mind of empowered. It's not the job. It's a whole lot of other things that make up the whole.
Yeah. So. It's economic independence is not just whether you work outside of home or not work. It's just economic independence.
Yeah.
It's that it is. It's not you earning money, but it's you having enough money to be able to support yourself or be able to make decisions in the household or whatever.
Yeah. Again, I do think that sometimes people do get misguided with like this whole notion of what does women's liberty mean, or like what is freedom, what is empowerment, and what is like I don't think that being allowed to just smoking or drinking, that is any sort of empowerment or freedom. And I hate movies that focus on that as the new empowered woman. You absolutely hate those movies, because I feel you're giving such a wrong message. There's so much we can do. I mean, we already know that smoking causes all these problems. So, but just because men are doing it, are we so stupid that that's what we want? And I feel that's what they bring us down to when they say, when movies show that the modern empowered woman is smoking. I mean, I don't want to get started on that. That's not the topic of conversation, but you get what I mean.
Yes, and I totally agree with you. It's the perception in real life shows movies, and movies influence real life. So I am sure there are women who might feel that, oh, so this is what freedom looks like.
Yeah.
Anyways, I because I want to keep it brief.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
There is one more question. I know I was the key part of not keeping it brief because I just couldn't help talking to Anu.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yes, I enjoy talking to you a lot. And so I want to know, you talked about positive experiences, and I know that, it's not always beautiful things and glories and success and victories. Was there any experience that made you feel, oh God, I just don't want to do this anymore? Or, that frustrating moments that come and go? Does anything come to your mind?
No, I'll say almost everyone I've worked with, they're very close to the cause. And once you can separate all the noise from the cause and say, okay, this is the cause and this is what I'm here for, you can sort of get over that frustration. But I will say, if the people in a nonprofit make it more about themselves than the cause, and it's like jostling for a position, and here is me and I am this and I am that, I don't tend to do well with such organizations. And in the past, there has been at least one case where I said, okay, I'm out of here. I think you guys can do this on your own. I still believe in the cause, all that, but for me, I don't like it when it becomes about the people and not about the cause.
That's very wonderfully put. And that I was just going to say that doesn't work with for-profits also. It's like whenever people put themselves before the bigger, I wouldn't say greater good exactly, but the bigger interest.
The mission of the organization, whether it's a profit or non-profit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just doesn't work. And like, I'm going to leave everyone in suspense, which is, it also has to do with your story of that man, the beard man on the hill.
Okay.
Because you can recognize certain things, you have that filter, you are able to select right things, and out of all these experiences that you have with nonprofits, you could only remember one that was not so good.
Yeah, yeah. And there are some fantastic organizations here. And I mean, like you said, I'm involved with quite a few. And I will say, want to put in a plug for Saheli. I've been involved with Saheli for a very long time. And, the work they do is just fantastic. I mean, I kept thinking when I joined Saheli earlier that, another 10 years, we won't need this kind of service. And that will be great. They help victims of domestic violence, but unfortunately, that is not true. And it's not a cause that, everyone flocks to help out with. A lot of people are like, I'll give money, but it's not something that I want to be in it. So, but I think we've changed that, and more people are coming forward to support the organization. So I do have a very good feeling about Boston and all the causes that people are involved in. It's a very caring community.
I absolutely agree with you, and it is really unfortunate that I find it, every now and then I find it unfortunate also that people, like, domestic violence work has been started since 60s, 70s, and 50 years after it, we
Yeah.
still are in. And I absolutely respect work that Saheli does and appreciate it and appreciate your involvement. And I have seen how deeply you are involved. Just wanted to add one last thing about
Yeah.
why, like, you might think, okay, fine, men don't get involved in domestic violence work is obviously, because they can't relate to it as easily.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of, I kind of have my own assumption, I would say assumption, because no one said this to me, but
Mm-hmm.
about why women don't get involved. Uh, because, like, when I have been involved with you, either with Dawn or, not as much with Saheli, but I talk about domestic violence and
Mm-hmm.
such things. People have actually asked me, why do you feel so passionately about it? Is, were you ever abused in your life? So, like, there is an assumption that, if you're working for, and they never ask me about any other cause like that, ever.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you're working on domestic violence, you have to be abused at some point. And maybe, that is the relationship that people draw. So someone who has never gone through domestic violence might be
Mm-hmm.
thinking that, I don't want to be perceived, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah.
And we need to change. Obviously, you might be working on it already, but that's something needs to be changed so that we get more people involved and aware of it.
Yeah. And I will say, it has changed, Purnima, from when I've seen it before. And I think your assumption is right, but, that's a stereotype. And I feel confident that maybe we've not completely broken that stereotype, but well on our way there.
I am very thankful for that. And
Yeah.
everything that you do with AIF, everything that you do with Nirvana, and that you do with Saheli,
Great.
and and many others that you did not mention. I am absolutely very thankful for that.
Yeah.
And
And, I don't want people to think like the ones I haven't mentioned are not important to me. They are also very important to me.
I know. And if we started talking about all of those, we will need another 1 or 2 hours at least.
Yeah, yeah. And in fact, I met you at the ACL event, right? So
Yes, yeah.
ACL is also definitely something that I'm passionate about. So
Aren't they all wonderful
they
organizations?
are, they are. So like I said, the causes are all very good, and I think impactful work is being done. So we all just have to find the time to make sure we can support as many of them as possible.
Thank you so much.